have 60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 35.
Part man.
Part machine.
All pod.
This minute begins with the convenience store clerks watching Robocop leave and ends with Robocop drawing his gun from his leg holster.
Yes. I think I made this joke the last minute. One of the iconic scenes in a movie full of iconic scenes.
Oh, yeah. Hate to see him leave, love to watch him walk away. Just had to get that in about the beginning of this minute.
But yeah, I do love the cinematography of this particular scene. It's a fairly dark scene in many ways. Like, you know, it deals with the sexual assault and all that, but the shots of like Delta City contrasting like this utopian ideal of OCPs versus the street level where you've got this horrific thing.
I was thinking about this. Have we seen that idea in anything else? That, you know, you have this poster that's hinting at this future to come that may never come. I feel like Robocop.
No idea.
Yeah. Now, when I was thinking about it, my brain's like, yeah, it was in Citizen Kane. Yeah, it's definitely in Citizen Kane. Now, I've not seen Citizen Kane in about 10 years, so I have no idea. But yeah, if anyone listens, first of all, amazing, thank you. Secondly,
like, share, subscribe.
Yeah. If anyone knows of any other example, because I know from this point onwards, there's definitely a lot of examples, like Detroit Become Human, where it's this brand new city is on the horizon, but then you look at the city as it is pre-gentrification, and it's pretty horrendous.
Yeah, it's a really good juxtaposition of iconography. It's probably one of those things where, yeah, I reckon if we deep dove into cinema, we'll find plenty of examples of this in the past. But yeah, it feels like, and ironically, it doesn't feel like this is a big deal in Robocop, but it's just such a nice flavor.
It adds something to the world building.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's like, it's probably not something anyone would really ever think about. They're probably too busy going, oh, this is a dick shooting scene. But when we're getting to the deep dish, you know, getting into deep diving into this kind of stuff, we have to, yeah.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's the MXM way.
Yes, and I quite like. I've always loved the billboard shot. You know.
Oh, it's iconic, and Robocop standing in front of it, and it's just
And the shadow being cast from the cruiser's lights. It's so good. It's really good.
So this scene is set at dusk, and I wonder if this skyline is a composite or just a what do they call those back in the day when it's just like a
matte painting?
Matte painting, yeah.
Yes. I don't know.
Because you cannot film at dusk. The light changes so fast. It's impossible.
Well, you can. It just usually will. It takes it does take an absolute like madman, like our director here.
Yes.
Or it takes like multiple shots and stuff like that. So I'd probably say it would be a matte paint. No, there's actually different angles on this the Detroit billboard, isn't there? So
yeah,
it has to be a real billboard.
Oh, no, but then when it's just the billboard, you don't see the sky, or maybe that is, like, it's pure black on the right side.
They would have had to have shot it at night purely for the light, to get that, because that also, let's face it, that's not a car-produced light, that's just a couple of blondes or redheads, lighting rigs, set up in the back, to just kick out so much light onto the scene and to, use Robocop as a blocker. I'm getting very technical. I have been learning a lot of this photography again, so.
Well, that's good. You shared what you learned. But yeah, I guess the scenes we see of the sky at dusk are very brief. So it's just two shots. The woman's running away from these two men. And that's it. So I guess, it's very possible that they could have just shot it at that time, just used very little of it.
Yeah, they're probably setting up around about golden hour, which is about 5, 6ish. So get up early, get in early, make sure this set it up, and then when it starts to go dark, that's when they record or they film. And
I mean, it looks great. It was definitely worth filming at that time. That's why it stands out. Why I'm commenting on it.
Yeah, golden hour is a ridiculously good lighting setup, but in film it's hard. If you want to try and keep consistency, because the sun is like just buzzing along at that point and dropping out. And if you've got any cloud cover, you're screwed. A lot of good variables in there to really ruin your shoot.
So this is very much a trope, and being that it is RoboCop, it's satirical, so I'm not blaming RoboCop specifically, but this trope, I am so sick of it, where the superhero, their first crime that they stop is a woman being sexually assaulted in an alleyway. It's always that.
It's the damsel in distress thing, and yeah.
And it's perfectly fine for RoboCop to do it, because they subvert it, obviously, where instead of him, being all romantic and heroic, it's just more like, shoot the guy in the dick, and then she's like, oh, you saved me. Yeah, like, no response. Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah, no, even then, it's just like, you have suffered a trauma, would you like me to notify a rape crisis unit? It's just so... yeah, we'll talk about that next minute, obviously, but it's just such a, like, non sequitur, response, because you'd think about it, it'd be like, the hero smirking or, nodding, winking to the camera, hey, look at me, I've done the good deed, but this is just RoboCop. This is just what he does.
Yeah, he's just getting the job done.
He is. The only thing that's always kind of bothered me is, how does RoboCop know this crime is occurring? And I got a bit of an answer to it.
Yeah, because someone had to have called it in.
That's it.
Oh, and I actually did look into so there's the police 100 code. And
yes.
The 415. We see that on his HUD. His heads-up display.
It is a disturbance.
Just a disturbance. So I don't know, I guess they heard someone screaming and they called it in.
Yeah, and it had to be obviously close enough to within a short driving distance of the convenience store. What was it called? I keep calling it a deli.
It's a deli. Let's preserve our Australian phrases. I find oftentimes when I'm doing a podcast or writing, there's a part of me that goes, oh, should I convert that to American speech? Like, no, they shouldn't. I've had to learn all of American history. Why do I need to know about George Washington? I don't. Nah. But I do, because I've watched so much American media.
I think we should start calling it a milk bar, just for our New Zealand brethren.
Yes. Are they still calling it milk bars?
I don't know, but that's what I've heard.
I hope so. Yeah.
But yeah, no, just seeing, like, was it code 40415 on the visor? It doesn't say what it is, because RoboCop doesn't need to know what it is.
Can we? I watched Smokey and the Bandit. Can we start using just all the code words, like instead of saying okay, we'll just say 10-4 and stuff. Can we start doing that?
I haven't seen Smokey and the Bandit. Oh god, I gotta say 20-odd years. So
it's great.
It's trucker language, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all CB.
10-4, good buddy.
Yeah. So we got to come up with our CB names.
Yeah. Oh god, you put me on the spot.
Yeah, we should come up with our names later. Yeah.
Well, here's the. Just as you say that, I think, well, I've been using the internet nickname of Ganthorian for 20-odd years now.
I guess that is yours, yeah. That has to be yours, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Like, internet nickname culture is almost an offshoot of, trucker lingo and stuff like that. And, it has its own language. Lol.
I've got so many names. There's Vexica, there's Kick Fortune, there is Jackson Valor.
Kick Fortune sounds like a great 80s action hero.
Yes, he is. Yeah. I don't know. I told my mom that name. She said the same thing. We started imagining, stories for Kick Fortune and what he wears and all.
That should be your Vaporwave artist name.
Yes, okay. This is Kick Fortune 10-4. Also check out my Spotify account.
Oh, wow. That would be cool. Make it happen.
Make it so.
Well, I always like the idea of doing radio, and I guess it's probably as close as I'll ever get to that.
Oh, yeah, the podcast is radio now. It's better than radio, because you can pick what you want. And
we can say
presently, and we can say fuck and all that. It's great.
Well, maybe not the second one.
Yeah. Oh, if it's on... we're uploading this one on YouTube, so I guess you have to bleep that. I'll just cut it all.
You'll just get a...
Stay out of trouble.
Instead of it.
True. So, if you're curious, this Nash Avenue, which is where this crime is reportedly taking place, there is a Nash Avenue. It is in Michigan, but it's not in Detroit. It is in a neighboring city called Ypsilanti. So.
Oh, this sounds futuristic.
Ypsilanti, yeah, and it's spelt with a Y at the front, so that's very confusing.
So, the one thing have you ever thought just how bad that wig is?
I was about to talk about that. That is, ever since I saw this movie as a kid, I'm just going, that just looks so wrong. It's so.
I know.
Oh.
I couldn't pick it until I think it maybe a couple of rewatch or so ago, and I was just like, man, that just looks like a bad wig. And never, watching this and I'm going, well, it kind of has to be. They cut it.
Yeah, I think, well, the biggest difficulty is it's this really pale, unnaturally pale color.
It's so shiny.
It's very shiny. Yeah. It's a permed look as well, which makes it all the more difficult to make it look natural. And if anyone out there, has a cheap wig and you want to get rid of that shine, you can actually just use baby powder. Just brush that through. It helps.
Yeah, it's funny how like Hollywood has this weird thing when it came to wigs, because they used to just create wigs from real hair.
Yeah.
And like wig make. I don't know how much you know about this. I know a little bit, but like they used to use a lot of wigs back in the day, because the one off the top of my head is Sean Connery wore a wig the entire time he did James Bond.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the things not many people didn't think about, but yeah, he wigged up that entire lot. That was how far back his hair loss was, until he got the hair plugs in when he did I think Hung for Red October or something like that.
It's such a weird thing that happens to the human body. Like, why? Thanks, nature. Why would you do that?
As I keep saying, biology is just fucking weird.
Biology's a bitch.
So yeah, they used to actually use real hair or use yak's hair and stuff like that. So a lot of people didn't realize there were wigs, because wigs weren't a natural occurrence. And you get slowly towards like the 70s and 80s when they started to become more fashionable in real life. Men with male pattern baldness started using them, and now we've got like the cosplay era of wigs, and people now finding ways to make fake wigs look realistic, and it's weird and unnatural, and whatever. I like it.
That's a really good point, is that now that these things are more ubiquitous, a lot more people are using them, a lot more people are experimenting with them, so we can share information. I recently spray painted a wig out of desperation, because I had there was this Fifth Element screening. I knew about it 3 weeks before it happened, so there's no way I can order anything and expect it to arrive in time. So I did all sorts of experimentation, and I didn't find a lot of information about spray painting, but just bought this crappy. It was like old man wigs. It was like just grey, like very pale, and like a kind of a page boy cut sort of thing. And I just spray painted that, and it works. You can brush it, you can wash it. It works just fine.
So last weekend I did a photo shoot for TAFE. It was Hollywood Glamour, and
you got to do that, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the photos or not. I did post them on
I didn't.
Facebook at Helios Photos.
I have not had a phone or any social media. So.
That's okay. The theme was based on my friend Dana, who is, you might have seen her on my YouTube channel a couple of times. One of her nicknames is Marilyn Monroe, because she likes Marilyn Monroe and she likes Rogue. As soon as we got this Hollywood Glamour assignment, I was like, I know who I'm picking, and I know what thing, because Marilyn Monroe, very much iconic. Not that she spray painted her hair, that's not where I'm going, but allowed Dana to, do the look and everything. She gathered things. She couldn't find like white extensions like that. She's rushing, and she just spray painted the wig white.
Yeah,
it worked.
Gets the job done.
That's it. People go like, it's a stupid way to do things, but if it works, is it stupid? And if it works, it might look fake, but you're spraying a wig blue. People are going to assume it's fake anyway, because you don't have naturally occurring blue hair, which is a bit unfortunate. That'd be kind of awesome. And then we suddenly have like a generation of anime protagonists, but...
Get
That
back
was a
on,
tangent.
Yeah, get back on track.
So going back to the wig, the rape victim was an actual stunt performer. Her name was Donna Keegan. Apparently, done a lot of stunt work, and so yeah, it makes sense that she probably didn't want to cut her hair, and
Oh yeah.
just
Well, then you only got one take for it as well, so.
yeah, and it also makes sense like she's someone who can do the physicality work on that. As she's done actress work, apparently she's been working behind the scenes in that. So award winner. It's just a quick other thing. Some IMDb. The only other credited actor in this scene is the guy with the knife called Creep. As named by RoboCop. He is an actor called William Shockley. He's been in a ton of stuff. This was his first acting role. He's done a lot of TV in the late 80s and 90s. And the one that popped out of mind, unfortunately, no Star Trek. But he popped up in Quantum Leap in an episode in 1990. He played the character. Oh, let me just check my notes. Boner. No, he's got a apparently he's got quite a long. He looks to be one of those guys that if you've kind of seen his face, you've probably, oh yeah, I've seen him in that. But the uncredited actor, he's referred to in the RoboCop IMDb as Bleached Blonde Thug. He's got a ton of credits, and he was in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, we've got one.
Well, shit.
We got one.
We got one!
He played Damon Goss, the Ferengi leader of the episode where someone's trying to sell a space butthole before they found the permanent space butthole. So, yeah, it's an episode called The Price, but I just couldn't help but get the reference in there. But yeah, he's uncredited. That's kind of a bit weird when it's like there's a lot of actors on there so uncredited. But I don't know, maybe he just didn't want to be associated with this particular scene. And oh god, apparently he was in a couple of Police Academy movies, and he was in Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh yeah.
How's that for a little bit of a synchronicity on this random thing you just mentioned that I didn't even realize?
Everything is connected.
Everything is connected. So yeah.
My last note was just that RoboCop always makes a really great entrance, and I wonder if he's programmed to just make a really killer entrance every single time.
Oh, just love to come through that code and just see, if door,
Then
brackets,
smash.
yeah, open dramatically. if the if had statements of the drama of RoboCop.
Yes.
I do have some commentary notes. Oh, here's an interesting one. So we were saying last episode, because we forgot where this was shot, Paul says that they shot 80% of this movie in Dallas.
Yes, I remember that.
And they cast a lot of local actors there. So there we go. That answers that question.
It's funny when they're like, when directors or whatever just like, oh yeah, we hired a lot of local actors. It's like, you're all American. What's the difference? I don't. It's America.
I don't know if you realize this, but America's pretty big.
But Australia's Australia, right? It's the same size.
Yeah.
But
You can fit at least one Australia into America. I know that.
yeah, so I guess America is more like Europe. It's all these different countries. They might say that they're all American, but they're not. Maybe it might be better if it was more than one country on that upper part of the continent.
I'll give European this over America. America is very much a lot of small countries put together, but at least in Europe they're all within driving distance.
True.
It was going to be too cost prohibitive to keep bringing in actors from LA to shoot at Dallas, so they cast locally for a lot of the bit parts. That's pretty much what it happens a lot. Like, say, for example, a lot of American TV went to Vancouver because it was cheap and the government was paying them to do it. So that's where a lot of Canadian talent is suddenly getting spotlighted in American shows, because they just went, we're not going to spend how many hundreds of thousands of dollars keep shipping in LA extras. We'll just get an LA sounding guy that works in Canada.
So commentary.
That's the first part. Ed claims that it was Paul's idea to have the more head down their line So in the original script and in the novelization, it is all about the thugs trying to capture her and like cutting her hair. So like, it's very skeevy. But it was Paul's idea that, I should try getting the hair down there. Oh, a little bit problematic, but
I think the reason why these attempted rape scenes in superhero or genre stories is so, I don't know, I mean, it's just cliche because it's been used a lot, but I think it's exhausting because it's never from the victim's perspective. So maybe that would be a little bit more humanizing, but as it is, it's such a cardboard cutout of a situation.
Yeah, I think it's an attempt at escalation.
Yeah.
It's like, it's bad enough what's happening to her, but now they're harassing her, they're cutting her hair, but now the threat is now getting very explicitly sexual, and like the knife moving down there, that adds tension. So I get it, but it is kind of skeevy.
I mean, it's not Miami Vice
I don't know how this is gonna work, Tubbs.
where I just make friggin' 40-year-old references. It's not Miami Vice where if a character is raped, then, you're going to go through this intense character study of that character for the rest of the episode. Like, it's not going to be that, I know.
Yeah, we need to stick to Robocop, which is a 34-year reference. I think that's it. It is Robocop. We are in a narrated movie world. It is supposed to be a bit more, what's the term, like, high octane? That's probably not the right one, but,
faster pace.
A bit more dangerous, a bit more, like, the stakes are a bit higher, perhaps, If Robocop wasn't there, this would have ended way differently.
Yeah.
It's a good example of just the situation on the street in Detroit is probably what they were aiming for.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, it serves its purpose in Robocop. I just mean the trope in general. It's
yeah, definitely. I'm not trying. It feels weird because they're going, wow, it sounds like I'm justifying this for this, but no, I just think it fits into it. But I do agree with you. It is so tacky and cliche now.
I think Robocop already was, the filmmakers were already aware of that, and that's why they're subverting that trope.
Yeah. And, it ends up with the guy getting shot in the cock. It's just amazing.
Amazing.
But we'll definitely get to that. The only thing else I've got to say, because the script is pretty much the same, except for the downstairs part. There is a line, it blew my mind, and I just have to say it. The woman's lips quivered. He was only 2 inches away from her face. He was breathing hard. He smelled of sardines and tequila.
Oh, lovely combination.
I was like, that's evocative, and also, I'm not sure what that smells like, and I'm not sure I want to know what that smells like.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pickled fish.
Yeah, just in tequila. I like tequila. I'm not a fish guy, so like, ugh. But yeah, it really does try and ramp up the skeeviness in this book. But again, it feels like a little bit of that. Oh, here we go. An Olympian voice thundered across the alley. Let the woman go. You're under arrest. Olympian voice.
That's a phrase.
That's a phrase. I don't think I'd ever. I mean, I like Peter Weller's voice. I just don't know how you could describe it as Olympian. Did it like win a gold medal or something?
Projecting it with a certain amount of strength. I don't know.
It's very good at the. It has this for me being the utter non-sports person. I was going to say the caber toss. I'm like, that's not an Olympic sport.
Yeah, what are you talking about, man? Shall we gaslighting Robocop?
Alex, how do you feel?
I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
Yeah, let's gaslight this mother. Yeah.
This video begins with Roboflag's squishy brain and ends with him saying something went wrong.
Yeah, it went wrong 34 minutes ago.
Yeah, it went wrong from the moment the credits rolled.
I forgot to write notes for this, but at the same time, it is an extension of the previous scene.
Yeah, so I decided to do some research on the brain. I went on a deep dive. I found some really cool stuff, so I'll just read out my notes then, shall I?
Yeah, I'll just interrupt with dick jokes, and if I've got time, I'll start going on my rant of why I particularly hate this scene, even though I think it's a great scene.
Yep. Yeah, okay. So we see a significant portion of Murphy's prefrontal cortex is missing, and there's some sort of chip embedded in the concave part there. And then there are other implants or chips surrounding his brain. And Norton claims that they didn't interfere with his emotions, but according to Dr. Wikipedia, the entirety of the frontal cortex can be considered the action cortex, much as the posterior cortex is considered the sensory cortex. It is devoted to action of one kind or another, skeletal movement, ocular movement, speech control, and expression of emotions.
Okay.
In humans, the largest part of the frontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex, is responsible for internal, purposeful, and mental action, commonly called reasoning or prefrontal synthesis. So basically, without that, you can't project future consequences of current actions. You wouldn't be able to override or suppress socially unacceptable responses, as well as differentiation of tasks. I don't really sure what that particular one means, but suppression of socially unacceptable responses. I know a few people who might have a problem with that. So.
Yeah, there's a few times where you just got to bite your fucking tongue.
Yep. I'm feeling it. I'm expressing it.
It's that moment where you're just there going, part of your internal monologue is, I just want to punch this motherfucker, and you're just there smiling, going, yep.
Yeah, that's your prefrontal cortex at work, where it can imagine that, and then you can just hold yourself back.
Oh, wow. So, I'm just imagining how that would relate to, not necessarily, like, say, people like autistic, but, like, people that, short fuses, or, like, people who have impulse control issues or things like that. Wow, just the correlation, just like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
So the common effects of damage to the frontal lobe are varied. Patients who have experienced frontal lobe trauma may know the appropriate response to a situation logically, but they'll display inappropriate responses to those same situations in real life.
Ooh. I wonder how that affects things like Tourette's, because that tends to be a...
Yeah, because they know that you shouldn't shout, "There's a bomb," when you're in an airport, but they're saying there's a bomb while they're in an airport. There's just no control there.
Yeah, just that part of your brain that goes, you just like, I'm thinking it, I shouldn't be thinking it, but I'm thinking it.
Yeah, and you do witness this with autistic people as well. They say, no, it's not appropriate to touch people like that. No, you don't touch people like that. And they go, oh, I understand. And then the next opportunity comes and they do it again.
Yeah, I've already used the biology is weird in this episode, but the fucking brain is weirder.
Oh my god, yeah, we don't even know, man.
We've barely scratched the surface of the goddamn thing inside our own heads.
Funny enough, the more we learn about AI, the more we understand about ourselves. That's been really interesting, because, we're trying to make a replica of our own brain, essentially, and we're going, oh, emotions come from the body, not the brain first. It's the other way around, or, those sorts of things.
Yes, I guess, sensory input, it's part of how we process things.
So, emotions that are felt by people with this injury may not be able to express it on their face or in their voice. Like, they're happy, they know what smiling is still, but they forget.
There's there is a condition for that. I'm just trying to remember what it's called, but it's like, the emotions, you're feeling the emotions, but you just can't express them. There's there's an episode of Boston Legal about that, and that's where my brain's going to. It's a really good one.
So it can actually go to the other extreme where people are expressing too much emotion, but they're not even feeling it. It's just like they're crying, they're laughing.
I'm calm, I tell you.
I'm fine.
I feel that sometimes as well.
And that's another autism symptom where people they can't control their tone of voice. They go, I'm calm. It's just, I don't know, I'm shouting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's amazing that there are just so many overlapping symptoms and conditions. And for this in particular, you'll want to look into Phineas Gage. That's a very famous case. The guy got this rod or something through this particular region of his brain.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that a long time ago.
And they still study him to this day in medical school. And it's an amazing example of the brain adapting, because a huge chunk of his brain was taken out. And then different parts of his brain compensated.
Neuroplasticity.
Yes. Another example.
So good.
Yes. I recently watched a video about it, about a guy who could only ever really live in the present moment. So he had severe epilepsy, and then they did this experimental surgery on him, which, people are now questioning if that was ethical. But
Yeah.
basically lobotomized the guy. Not really. I think it's a different kind of surgery.
Yeah.
But his seizures went away. Great, excellent. He only had a memory span of maybe an hour or two. And so for the rest of his life, he thought he was still in his late 20s, and he had no idea.
Damn.
Yeah, horrifying but fascinating. And
Yeah.
the spooky thing is, just to tie this all back in, neuroplasticity, towards the end of his life, when the therapists were asking him questions about, could you draw the layout of your apartment, or can you draw the layout of the hospital, he started to be able to do that.
I remember hearing about this.
Freaky.
I can't remember when, but yeah, the brain is such a such a weird thing, and I guess it's like, part of me is like, we don't want to fuck around with this squishy, vulnerable object, but at the same time, like, we kind of need to. We need to understand this damn thing.
Oh yeah, very much so.
And almost every brain is unique, in some way.
If we understood brains perfectly, it would totally revolutionize medicine, psychology, the criminal justice system, transgender medicine, or even queer medicine in general. We would be able to make much more precise and successful diagnoses, and we could implement these therapies before someone was even feeling symptoms. It was just...
But then you get the ethics and the morality and the philosophy around it, like, who are we to... if we had the gay conversion therapy tool, do we have the right to use it? But that's just an example, but that's morality versus, like everything.
Like everything. You've got the scientific idealism, and then you've got governments and corporations with their own agendas.
Yes.
Like in Robocop, this is a perfectly beautiful life-saving technology that has now been bastardized into this means of enslaving a human being.
That's it. Where does this stop?
Yeah.
Well,
it's
kind of lucky that the brain is such a weird thing. It's not quite as plug and pray.
We're not ready to understand it. I don't think. Yeah. But to segue quite nicely into, found this fantastic New Yorker article about, do brain implants change your identity? And really fascinating. I'll put a link to that. I'll put a link to the other the guy with the 1 hour memory, what it was. Yeah.
It is a fascinating thing. I haven't done any research in this in a long time. Most of my research is just, I found an interesting article and go, okay, that's really interesting. Like, I was reading neuroplasticity at a doctor's surgery, and I was just like, that was such an idea that got stuck in my brain, literally in my brain.
In your brain, yeah. So, to quote, scientifically, the NeuroVista trial was a success, validating its underlying concept and generating a wealth of useful data. It was a success for Leggett, that's my mother's maiden name, no relation, but in a way that was deeper and more complex than either she or the researchers had anticipated. The goal had been simple, to improve her life by giving her more control over her condition, epilepsy. The effect, though, had been to make Leggett feel like an entirely new person. She had never had a self she could trust before, and that's a really fascinating phrase. When I talked to her, she spoke of the device as if it were a partner. We were calibrated together, she said. We became one.
Wow.
That it's just fascinating. I mean, some people in this study said, it was really annoying. It was interfering with my life. And this is actually kind of topical to what I've experienced lately. I've gone a week without a phone. I probably won't have one until Monday. But I realized just how much it had become a part of me. And, I'm doing this sentient car essay, and I'm looking into the relationship between man and machine. And we anthropomorphize cars. We see them as the other. That's how we relate to them. But phones and these brain implants, it's you. It's an extension of you. It's cybernetics. And that is just so fascinating. Yeah.
Well, especially when you think about it, it never used to be. Like, less than 20 years ago, we weren't walking around... Well, the majority of the population wasn't walking around with this tiny computer attached to their hip. If we did have a little tiny computer attached to their hip, it was to make phone calls, send a couple of SMSs, and play Snake. It was really that limited.
Yeah, the naked human.
Yeah, and now we have these devices that almost everyone's got. Almost everyone needs to a certain degree. Even, terrible as this sound, even an unemployed person, even a homeless person needs a mobile phone.
Oh my god, I didn't realize just to verify things, I can't log into certain accounts because I have two-factor verification. So it's like, oh, you want to log into Instagram? Well, we've sent you a text. About that.
Funny about that.
Yeah, or in WA we've got the COVID safe app. So when you walk into any building, you have to sign in, and I mean you can just do it. They've got a paper,
pen and paper.
But it was just like, wow, yeah. I just realized that I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie where you don't have your multipass or whatever it is.
Yes. Well, think about it. If you go to the next level and talking about, like, the perfect corporate capitalist system, if you don't have your pass, you're screwed. And like that's a lot of science fiction dystopias. Sometimes stems from the fact of like, I've left my wallet at home, and all of a sudden I can't do a thing.
Yeah,
I can't get on the bus. I can't do that, and like that's a modern concern. But it's 50 years ago that would be science fiction dystopia.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I've been watching a lot of 80s movies, and it's just, there's no... I mean, they had debit cards and credit cards, but for the most part, people are still using cash for the most part. There's no... we call them smart riders. I know in Britain they call them Oyster cards. The cards you tap on and off to get on public transport. That is what I define as the naked human. No cybernetics, no technology to enhance you. It's just... You got your clothes, you got your cash, you got a car. That's about it.
It's funny as someone who's grown up without a lot of this stuff and is an adult and has to... It definitely does not feel like there was one day, bang, that was it. We're all now attached to the machine. But it's like everything. It's a slow evolution.
It slowly creeped in. Yeah, I mean, I was born in the early 90s, and... I was witness to that evolution, and now that I've had my phone ripped from me and I feel like I've lost a part of myself, I literally feel like I've lost a limb. And so there's so many times where I try to go to do something and I realize, oh, I can't do that because I've had my arm cut off, and I just realized, how did I get here? This has been a huge detox and a wake up to go, how did I get to this point? Like, I got my first phone when I was probably 11, 12 years old, and I haven't stopped. It just got more and more technologically complex and more demanding, and it was like a toxic relationship, and I didn't even realize it.
I just realized I got my first mobile phone in about 2001. 2000. Yeah, it must be about 2000,
so
2001.
about this little before me.
And I said it was just a very simple phone back then, and
just playing Snake.
Play Snake, and and you have to send an SMS. You got to type one number, like
fucking Morse code.
Type it all, to type the fucking Morse code.
Oh, yeah.
Keypad. So it was like A was like 1, and then it's like T was like clicking, clicking. Oh, I wanted a capital S, so click.
But yeah, to tie it back to brain chips and any kind of neural modification. So for the great majority of patients, deep brain stimulation was beneficial and life-changing, but there were occasional reports of strange behavioral reactions such as hypomania and hypersexuality. Then in 2006, a French team published a study about the unexpected consequences of otherwise successful implantations. 2 years after a brain implant, 65% of patients had a breakdown in their marriages or relationships.
Wow.
And 64% wanted to leave their careers. Their intellect and their levels of anxiety and depression were the same as before, or in the case of anxiety, had even improved, but they seemed to experience a fundamental estrangement from themselves. One felt like an electronic doll, another felt like Robocop under remote control, and that is his exact words.
Wow. Damn.
That is, oh wow, so surreal, and that just shows me that I think I am still a transhuman. I'm more critical of it now, and I think that humans, we evolved in nature, we need to be amongst nature, and there's probably a fundamental limit to how much we can incorporate technology into ourselves. I think there is a place for this stuff that can enhance people's lives, cybernetics for those who don't have those limbs, those senses, whatever it is. But it's really spooky that it can so fundamentally change how you see yourself that you don't even see yourself as human. These people started to see themselves as robots, and as someone who had that same psychosis for many years, and I don't know what caused it, wow, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, we have talked about this briefly in the past, because you have asked me what my thoughts were. The funny thing is, because just recently, I think it was goddamn Elon Musk, friend of the show. I think he was talking about implanting fucking chips in people's brains to let them connect. I don't know, probably use fucking Teslas better.
Oh yes, the neural lace in the piggies.
And here's my thing. If it's safe, it works, and there's not really any, there's no, when it's been tested and there's no, drawbacks, definitely not the shit that we're hearing through the study, because, wow, that's crazy. I don't have an issue with that kind of technology, except in the hands of people like Elon Musk. So I'll probably will never have an actual, I'll probably never be comfortable, because, fuck capitalism. Yeah. But it is one of those things where part of me is like, I love the idea of the technology, I love the idea of accessibility, I love the idea of just being able to just Google in my fucking brain.
I love that idea of, having that kind of symbiosis where you're thinking and you're like, oh, yeah, what year was that? Or do I have anything coming up tomorrow? And it's just in me. There's another part of my brain that is infinitely more sophisticated. Upgrade. The movie Upgrade again.
I've never really expressed this, at least publicly. It's a private thought, but one of the things that's always bothered me about producing art, like drawing, painting, there's always feels like a disconnect between my brain and my hand. Like, I know what I want, and I try to get my hand to do the thing that I want, and it never turns out the way I want. But I've had people go, your artwork is great. Great. I mean, they're not great, but I like your drawing and stuff like that. But for me, it's never the thing I wanted to make, and it's always been like a disconnect. So part of my brain that goes, give my brain a paintbrush to paint what I see in my head, appeals to me.
Yeah, it's not so much of an issue for me now, and I think that, it does come from practice and just learning my own style and going, no, I know what I'm capable of, and so this elaborate oil painting image you've got in your head, you can't do that, but you can do retro kind of Adult Swim style animation. Hanna-Barbera.
It's not necessarily like that for me. It'd be like if I wanted to draw a circle and I end up drawing a square, and people said, "Oh, the square's fantastic," but I'm there going, "But I was trying to draw a circle." That's the disconnect I'm talking about.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, there's only so much you can accomplish through practice because you are destined to only have a certain style. But if you had some kind of neural lace or some kind of chip of some description, then it calls into question what is art, what is authentic, because, you can have this neural enhancement and suddenly you're painting like Van Gogh one day and sculpting something like Michelangelo the next, or well, he carved.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, it just feels like that thing where, for me, as doing that type of art has always been very disruptive. There's a disconnect. Whereas, for example, when I've been building props and costumes, there's always a temptation to try and be perfect. But at the same time, it's a practical application. It don't have to be perfect. I've learned to unlearn that type of mentality in that section. I'm finding that also works for me with photography. Like, I have in my brain the perfect image to a degree. I'm not saying it's perfect, but like, I have the idea of the shot in mind. But I know I'm restricted by reality physics. I got some ideas for shots, but you can test to this. Like, I let the relationship with the model direct me. I look at the environment. I try and choose my shots.
I boss you around. Yeah, it's fine. You can say it.
Yeah, no. But even but that's a back and forth with a photographer and a model. If the model knows what they want, they can also communicate. Like, I want this shot. I want to do this. I want to do that, and I'll try my best. But also, like, I want a shot, so I'll say, look, let's shoot here. We'll do this angle.
It's collaborative. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing about art. Natural art without some brain chips and stuff involved is it's collaboration between people with different views and different expectations and all of that. So I think collaborating has actually helped me relax more about my art, my podcast and whatever, where I just go, yep, well, that's the product we came up with and it's perfect just the way it is. It's not what I imagined it was going to be. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's just different.
Collaboration gets you some really interesting results. Like, I had an idea in my head for this glamour shot, and part of what we do in TAFE, we do mood boards and stuff like that to try and, verbalize or express what we want. And the shot I got was practically what I wanted. It doesn't look exactly the same because, again, reality. But the funny thing is, I was just thinking then, as much as I like the idea of using a brain implant to paint digitally and I can create the art I would love to create, the idea of replacing my eye with an electronic one, the perfect inbuilt camera, that doesn't appeal to me. The camera is a tool. Is a tool I'm starting to get really reliant on. I like the creativity, and also, to a certain degree, I don't trust the technology that would have to be put into an eyeball, and the flexibility the camera gives me, different lenses and stuff like that. The camera is already my eye to the world, so I don't need another one.
Yeah.
Wow, that got fucking deeply philosophical.
Yes, talking about art. So that's all my notes.
I think I'll leave my rant about the Robo Fist and the lungs until next time.
Yeah.
This is a great note to leave this out on.
Yeah.
No, truly though, thank you for bringing this up. It's made me think, and I really enjoyed listening to this.
Hopefully our listeners get something out of it too. Go make good art. Go collaborate. Go make unexpected things, guys.
Definitely. Make a podcast, and maybe people will listen to it.
Maybe.
Speaking about listening to podcasts, where can the lovely viewers find you?
Traviandesigns.com, patreon.com/TravianDesigns. That's where you'll find Covenant Minute and Legacy Minute and Nexus Minute, which reviews both Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. And you can go to Courtney Colson on YouTube, where you can hear me talk about my life in graphic detail, about detransitioning and all sorts of fun things.
Yeah, and speaking of YouTube, I got YouTube as well. And there is, RoboCop 60 Seconds to Compliance on YouTube as well. Yeah, we have mentioned it. But you can find me at Fanboy Crossing and my newly photographer page, Helios Photos. I want to try and start plugging that because I'm shooting some cool shit. More to come. But more importantly than that, find us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Simplecast, YouTube's, rave, review, rave on, things like that. I don't know, algorithmic stuff.
Spray paint our URL on the billboards, on the sides of walls.
Spray paint our URL on Elon Musk's face and...
Tattoo it on, yeah.
Yeah. Just don't do it as an NFT because I've been researching that and boy fucking howdy, that's skeevy shit. So until next time...
Robosocks. inspired by
Perfect.
the time I was putting on my socks and I was singing the Robocop theme, and that's what happened.